Good evening, everyone. Thank you all so much for coming. I'm Hannah Kay, co-founder of Parallax Debates. Now, I don't need to tell you that we have two of the world's finest debaters with us on stage tonight, but I'm afraid I do have to let you know that Michael Gove is going to be leaving at around 7:30. So, to maximize Michael Gove time, I am going to hand straight over to our chair tonight. She is a former BBC News journalist and now Classic FM presenter. Please give a very warm welcome to Ritila Shah. Thank you.
Welcome, everybody. Thanks so much for coming out on such a sort of warm and beguiling evening. I do think... Oh, switch off that mobile phone, guys. Phone's off. Have we found it? There's normally a switch on the side. Okay. Oh, no?
Now he really wants to make
Yes. Somebody's not admitting it's theirs. Yes, we're there. Fantastic. Well done. Well, I was going to say, I do think this is going to be a big and beautiful debate. Trump 2.0 will make the world a safer place. A reminder, we're talking about a president who's pursuing trade wars while actively trying to forge what some might call transactional peace deals. So whether it's the Middle East, Russia, Ukraine, or DRC and Rwanda. And for this work, he's made it plain that he believes he deserves a Nobel Peace Prize. And I think we can say that President Trump is undoubtedly reshaping expectations and relationships. So will the world become safer in its Trump 2.0 incarnation, or perhaps less stable and predictable? Well, we've got a wonderful pair of panelists tonight. Arguing for the motion, Michael Gove, editor of The Spectator, and a former cabinet minister who served in 5 departments. Goodness, Michael, including education and justice. I had lost count. An MP from 2005 to 2024, he was a leading figure in the Vote Leave campaign and during the 2016 Brexit referendum. Arguing against the motion, we have Mehdi Hasan, founder, CEO, and editor-in-chief of the new media company Zeteo. He's also a Guardian columnist, host of Head to Head on Al Jazeera English, and he's the author of Win Every Argument, The Art of Debating, Persuading, and Public Speaking. Could be handy tonight. We're doing things a little differently this evening. Unlike our usual debates, we're not having a formal vote. But at the end of the evening, I will ask you for sort of a show of hands to see if you've been persuaded by the arguments that you've heard. And to continue with those differences a little bit, usually the speaker defending the motion speaks first in the debate, but in this instance, Michael's asked to go second. So I'm now going to ask Mehdi to take to the podium and explain why he doesn't think Trump 2.0 will make the world a safer place. Mehdi.
Ladies and gentlemen, the motion today that I'm opposing, and I hope you all are too, is Trump 2.0 will make the world a safer place. I'll be honest, it's a ridiculous motion. To believe this motion, you have to have been asleep for Trump 1.0. You have to have been in a literal coma between 2017 and 2021, when Donald Trump did more drone strikes than Barack Obama, tore up the Iran nuclear deal, withdrew from the INF arms control treaty, helped Saudi Arabia bomb and besiege Yemen, bombed Syria, dropped the mother of all bombs on Afghanistan, and then did a friendly deal with the Taliban, heaped praise on Vladimir Putin, threatened North Korea with nuclear war, and then exchanged love letters with Kim Jong-un. The world was not a safer place under Trump 1.0. And to believe that Trump 2.0 will make the world a safer place, you also have to have been asleep since January 20th of this year. You have to have buried your head in the sand. Safer. Safer. Safer for whom? Not for the people of Iran, more than 1,000 of whom were killed in Israeli airstrikes, approved and blessed by Donald Trump as excellent. And it wasn't just the Israelis. Donald Trump, the guy who said he would be the anti-war president, the guy who said he would end the endless wars in the Middle East, bombed Iran himself last month in violation of both the UN Charter and the US Constitution. He blew up diplomatic negotiations. He failed to actually destroy all of the highly enriched uranium, which has now disappeared and is unaccounted for. And so as the former conservative foreign secretary, former leader of Michael's own party, William Hague, said the other week, Trump's bombing of Iran makes it, quote, more likely than it was before these events that we will wake up one morning 10 or 20 years from now to discover that Iran has a nuclear bomb. Well done, Mr. President. Trump will make the world safer. Safer for whom? Not for the people of Gaza, who continue to be massacred on a daily basis in their hundreds and thousands. Just 6 kids killed yesterday, lining up for water. Since Netanyahu violated Trump's ceasefire back in March, with Trump's blessing, over 6,000 Palestinians have been killed and 21,000 injured. Meanwhile, Trump has given the green light to the most far-right people in Israel to both starve the people of Gaza and ethnically cleanse the place. He just signed off on a $500 million arms deal with Israel, a country that is led by a man who is wanted by the International Criminal Court. Trump will make the world safer. Safer for whom? Not for the people of Yemen, who Trump bombed in March, April, and May of this year, killing over 200 civilians. More than were killed in all American attacks on Yemen over the past 20 years, including 80 civilians in an oil refinery and 60 migrants trapped in a detention center, all dead, thanks to Donald Trump. But he'll make the world safer. Safer for whom? Not for the people of Ukraine, who Trump effectively abandoned since he berated their president in the Oval Office on live television, then kicked him out of the White House, then brought in a pause on intelligence sharing with Ukraine, which led to the deaths of hundreds of Ukrainian soldiers, dozens of Ukrainian civilians. Michael used to be a big supporter of Ukraine, but now he's here tonight defending Trump. The same Trump who just last month halted crucial arms shipments and munitions destined for Ukraine, desperately needed by Ukraine. Now he's saying, oh, well, he's going to change his mind. He's actually going to send the weapons. But he's all over the place. He's Trump. So, I don't know. I guess the Ukrainian people are on their own in this new, safer world brought about by Trump 2.0. The truth is that Trump is all too happy to deliver the keys to Kyiv and the property deeds to Gaza to Vladimir Putin and Benjamin Netanyahu. He's all too happy for foreign autocrats to take what they want by force. He is. I mean, you don't think Xi Jinping, who Trump calls a friend and says he has great chemistry with, you don't think Xi Jinping is watching what's happening in Ukraine and thinking Taiwan is just there for the taking? By the way, Trump, ever the mob boss, says Taiwan should pay the US protection money for its defense. So look, Trump 2.0's foreign policy is a recipe, I'm sorry to say, for more war, not more peace. This is a US president who has increased the military budget to a record high, who loves to cozy up to aggressive foreign dictators, while threatening his own democratic allies, not just Ukraine. He says he wants to annex Canada. He wants to invade Panama. He wants to conquer Greenland. Is this what a safer world looks like? The United States going to war with Denmark? And let's be clear, this is serious stuff. This isn't a joke. There are real-world consequences to Trump's bumbling belligerence, to his reckless rhetoric, to his unbelievable unstableness. You have Poland now considering getting nuclear weapons. You have South Korea considering getting nukes. You have Germany, God help us, thinking about nukes. All because Donald Trump has abandoned US allies, threatened US allies, and made the world a less safe place. More unstable, more chaotic, more dangerous. And this isn't just about war and peace. Trump is making the world a less safe place in myriad ways. He's undermined the global fight against climate change, which Michael has said in the past, Western countries have a moral responsibility to tackle. He appointed an anti-vaxxer, Robert F. Kennedy Jr., to run his health department, who promptly announced a cut in US funding to the world's most important global vaccine alliance. Michael, in government during the pandemic, was an evangelist for vaccines. Trump let Elon Musk gut the US aid department and completely undermine the global fight against HIV/AIDS, tuberculosis, malaria. Things that Michael fought against in government. The Lancet Medical Journal said last month that thanks to Trump's cuts to the US aid budget, we could see 14 million additional deaths over the next 5 years, including the deaths of over 4.5 million children under the age of 5. Is that your idea of safety? Is that anyone's idea of a safer world? More disease, more bombing, more global warming, more authoritarians and ethnic cleansers around the world, emboldened by the President of the United States? More chaos, more havoc, more turmoil? How could anyone seriously say Trump is making the world a safer place? Safer for whom? Safer for big oil and the arms industry? Sure. Safer for dictators and authoritarians? Absolutely. Safer for billionaires who want to dodge taxes? No doubt about it. But safer for ordinary civilians? No, not for ordinary civilians in places like Gaza City or Taipei or Kyiv. Not for journalists or dissidents or whistleblowers living under the rule of Trump's authoritarian pals in Pyongyang or Beijing or Moscow. Not for the climate, which continues to threaten our very existence on this planet. This motion feels like a parody. I mean, saying Donald Trump has made the world a safe place is like saying George Bush brought peace to Iraq, or Boris Johnson brought dignity to Downing Street. It's like saying, I don't know, Michael Gove got Brexit right. It's demonstrable bullshit, right? So, ladies and gentlemen, when you look at the ranting, raving, bullying, berating, ignorant, insane Trump, you don't think of safety. You don't think that's the guy protecting the world. And to be honest, whatever Michael tells you tonight, he doesn't believe that either. Just last October, he said if he was an American, he would vote for Kamala Harris, not Donald Trump. And yet here he is tonight making the case for Trump, defending the indefensible, trying to make you all believe that the arsonist is really the firefighter, that the guy pouring gasoline, petrol on the flames of conflict in the Middle East and beyond, he's really pouring water. Come on. Are you kidding me? The world is not a safer place. You know it, I know it, Michael Gove knows it, Donald Trump knows it. And so I urge you all to reject this absurd, offensive, and laughable motion tonight. Ladies and gentlemen, I beg to oppose. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mehdi. Michael Gove is now going to respond and argue why he thinks Trump 2.0 will make the world a safer place.
Rittler, Mehdi, comrades, thank you for coming to this MAGA rally, where we're dedicated to making argument great again. I loved listening to Mehdi. It was beautiful, the way in which he used the silver tongue and the petrol-fueled brain in order to denounce Donald Trump. But what was he denouncing Donald Trump for? He was denouncing Donald Trump for falling short of perfection. He was denouncing Donald Trump for being a little less good at being US president than Mehdi Hasan would undoubtedly be. But let's look not at perfection, not at Mehdi's platonic ideal of what a US president should be, but the actual uncomfortable facts, uncomfortable for Mehdi's case. The truth is that when Trump was president between 2016, in his first term, forgive me, America did not initiate and was not involved in any foreign wars for the first time in decades. The number of people who died globally as a result of conflicts during Trump's first term and in the first year of his second term has been lesser than in any of his Democrat presidential comparators. These are simple facts. They demonstrate that you don't need to admire Donald Trump's morality. I don't. You don't need him to be a role model for your children. I would never argue that he should be. You don't necessarily even need to have wanted to vote for him at the last presidential election. I wouldn't have. To recognize the reality of the type of president that he is. And what I'm inviting you to do is to put aside your prejudices, to not allow yourself to be seduced by the sheer torrential emotional power of Mehdi's rhetoric, but to look at the facts. Fact one that Mehdi didn't mention but Rittler did. Do you know the conflict, which has consumed, by conservative estimates, broadly 5 million lives over the last couple of decades? It's the conflict in Africa between Rwanda and the forces it sponsors and the Democratic Republic of the Congo. Now, we don't see it reported. We don't see marches going through the center of London to see that conflict end. We don't have that conflict leading the BBC's bulletins. I'll leave you to speculate as to why. But it has been the single most bloodthirsty conflict in all our adult lives. Who is the first American president who not only sought to end it, but concluded a peace deal just a couple of weeks ago with the leaders from both Rwanda and the DRC? Donald Trump. Now, that peace deal may not last. That peace deal, of course, is inflected, as so many of America's activities have been, no matter who the president is, by consideration of resources and the economy. But nevertheless, if you're going to judge someone by their actions, you surely have to give a president, any president, credit if he expends prestige and diplomatic energy in seeking to end the bloodiest conflict on earth in all our lives. Similarly, whatever view you take on the war in Ukraine, and as Mehdi said, I am a supporter of Zelensky and a strong advocate of giving all the support that we can to the Ukrainian people, it is undeniably the case that the revealed preference of President Trump is to try to end this conflict sooner rather than later. Mehdi mentioned some of the acts that Trump has been responsible for, but he admitted that in the last 24 hours, Trump, in his exasperation with Putin's failure to come to the negotiating table, has threatened exemplary tariffs on Russia and has escalated the level of military support that he is giving to Ukraine. About time too, I think, but it is undeniably the case that Trump's approach towards what has been happening in Ukraine is driven by a sincere desire to end that conflict. Now, Mehdi also says, well, the tergiversations around Ukraine will hearten Xi Jinping. Trump is an inconstant ally. He is not someone that you can rely on to demonstrate that peace comes through strength, because actually he is showing weakness. And yet at the same time, the same Mehdi also argues you can't trust Trump because he's in Israel's pocket, because he shows himself willing to be a slavish follower of his ally in the Middle East. Well, Mehdi can't have it both ways. Trump cannot simultaneously be a threat to peace because he's an inconstant ally in one conflict, and a threat to peace because he's an over-eager ally in another. It might just be possible that the world of diplomacy and conflict is more complex than the beautiful moral simplicity of Mehdi's argument would lead you to believe. And talking about Iran, and talking about the Middle East, Mehdi and I disagree about much in the Middle East. But I'm sure that Mehdi would happily grant that those currently in power in Iran are not the cuddly figures. They are not the Swedes of the Middle East. Yeah, we'll come on to Israel. I knew.
There'll be time.
Well, I will come on to Israel in just a second. But the key thing about Iran is that we know that the people of Iran would like to see its regime reform. We know that the people of Iran yearn for democracy. And we also know that Iran was on the way to building a nuclear weapon, which its leaders have said would be used to eliminate Israel. You laugh. Do you know the reason why we know that Iran was seeking to build a nuclear weapon? Because Mehdi Hasan has just told us that its enriched uranium is now elsewhere and not in the bases that were bombed. We were told before that exercise would take place, that terrible things would be unleashed. They haven't been. What we've seen is the Iranian regime properly chastened, just as we'd previously seen Hezbollah properly chastened, just as we'd previously seen the Houthis having their teeth blunted. And the thing that links Hezbollah, the Houthis, Iran, and yes, Hamas, is their genocidal desire to eliminate the Israeli people, and in order to ensure that the work of Jew slaughter to which they are all dedicated can continue. It is only thanks to the men and women of the IDF, the citizen army, that Israel survives. It is only thanks to them that we can ensure that that state, as a democracy which respects property rights, which respects gay rights, and which respects Arab rights, can continue to flourish in the Middle East. And I know that there will be people in this audience, perhaps Mehdi as well, who may take a different view. But it is undeniably the case that all of us must recognize that if we are to have a safer and more secure world, then terrorism cannot pay. And Mehdi, he only had 11 minutes, did not actually mention that the reason there is a conflict in Gaza is because Hamas launched, and their allies, launched a murderous attack.
Michael, your time is up. I'm going to ask you to
on
wrap
October
up.
the 7th?
Yes.
I thought I had 3 minutes left, but still. One of the reasons why it is important to affirm that is that it is only when one counters terror with the resolution that Donald Trump has shown that we know that security can be purchased not just for Israel and not just for the West, but for the whole world. Thank you.